Yeah.
Skirt day, skirt day, skirt day. We're
Interesting.
checking in again from
Yeah.
Rainbow Reef. Welcome to Talk Dive Live. Yes, we're coming back for our fourth episode. We've had popular demand that is demandingly popular, and I'm here to shed some light on questions that you've already been bringing us. We love hearing from you. We want to share everything that we can in our time of cleanliness and being socially distant. We need to make sure that everyone is safe. It's not just for ourselves, it's for everyone else. But in the meantime, we can't go diving. So let's talk diving, folks. We're going to talk some specialties. We're going to talk to some people that are actually new on the panels today. We've got some old people or some repeats on the panel today. And hopefully, you guys are going to send in your questions so we can hear from you. But without further ado, let's introduce you to our panelists today. We've got all the way from, well, just down the street now, David. How you doing,
Hey
David?
everybody, how you doing? I am here, an instructor at Rainbow Reef. Since I don't get to dive, at least I get to talk to you guys about diving. So I've been having a good time on these calls.
And you're going to discover that David has a lot to say about diving because he's very passionate about it. Also, it looks like we've got just stepping into things. We have our Mr. Jimmy on the line. I think, are you getting all set up there, Jimmy?
Yeah, I'm here. I was just relocating. It was a little warm for the dog outside. I was good. I was trying to do it on the water, but we came back in.
Ah, well, we
How's it
have
going,
to
guys?
take care of our animals. So thank you very much, Jimmy, for joining us. And from downstairs training center, we've got yet another one of our lovable interns, Mr. Garrett. Please say hello to us, Garrett.
Hey guys, I'm Garrett. I'm like I said, I'm one of the interns here. I would like to be out diving, but I do enjoy talking to all you guys about the diving world.
Thank you, Garrett. So let's cut right into it. So a lot of people have been asking about specialties. If you remember on some of our other episodes, we talked about the navigation specialty, and I believe our very own Andrew talked about some of those mishaps that he may have had with watching his compass, right? Because a lot of this is about gear, so we want to keep it real while we're talking about these specialties because we want you to understand that with every specialty that we've got, there are going to be specific gear related aspects of that actual specialty. The other thing that we were talking about is rescue course and how you could actually start the rescue course as early as having been certified as an open water diver if you do so in the confined water. Now, are we talking to you specifically about specialties and rescue? Well, there's been a question that was asked called, what is the master scuba diver? Pretty cool. My understanding from Patty is it is the black belt of scuba diving without going to the professional level. So let's pass it to David to see if he can explain to us a little bit about what the requirements are of becoming a master scuba diver.
Sure. So basically, you do your open water, you do your advanced open water, which involves, as you guys probably know if you've been with us before, your 5 adventure dives plus thinking like a diver. You do your rescue, which we've all talked very passionately about. And you also do 5 specialties. And once you've done all that, you have black belt status. So you're essentially the black belt of non-professional scuba diving. And so the specialties are a lot of fun. You can actually continue the ones that you started as your adventure dives. So you've already done your first dive of the specialty when you did your advanced open water. Or you can say, I got what I needed out of that, and I'm going to do a completely different specialty, whatever you like.
Ah, excellent, excellent. So what you're actually talking about is linking the advanced specialty or the advanced course to the specialty specific. So, my understanding, Garrett, is you've been doing some specialty training. A couple of weeks ago, we had to stop it because of our social distancing, but you started doing some specialty training to actually get the specialties. Did your instructor ask you which ones you did during your advanced course? so that you could use that as the first dive?
Yes, he actually did. So when they were asking for what you wanted to do for what AOW it is, um, yeah. So what he's saying exactly is you need to do at least the first dives. So like what I did for my first dives is I did boat diver, deep diving, wreck, PPB, um, and one of the other ones. And it's just enough to get you understanding what you're doing, but it's also just enough to start the AOW course as well.
All right. So I think what Garrett's eloquently trying to say is that the first dive of the specialty that you actually do as either one of the 3 adventure dives during your advanced course or as the deep and the navigation as part of your advanced course will serve towards that specialty. Which, for instance, if you were to do a peak performance buoyancy specialty, which we talked about just 2 episodes ago, especially along the lines with Project Aware and Conservational Diver, if you were to have done one of those peak performance buoyancy adventure dives during your advanced course, a peak performance buoyancy is a 2-dive specialty. All you would needs must do is one more dive. That would be dive number 2 of the peak performance buoyancy specialty, and you would have that specialty. Another thing to note, as David was saying, you have to be a rescue diver in order to become a master scuba diver and have 5 specialties. Now, the rescue diver does not have to be PADI. It can actually be from another organization. There are other organizations, and we recognize that. However, the 5 specialties have to be PADI specialties. So those 5 specialties do indeed have to be PADI specialties. And then you have to have 50 dives, which, by the way, if you're coming out and you're doing an MSD package with us, you're going to be getting some dives anyhow. Now, I see here from the voices that are in my head that I have not asked the simple question of from where are we broadcasting? Jimmy, if you just let us know, where are you broadcasting from?
I right now am in my apartment in Key Largo. I'm originally from Minnesota, but I came down here for my instruction. And like I said earlier, I was trying to do it on the water here. If you can see our view here down in Key Largo.
Nice.
But yeah, it's just a little warm for the dog, so can't complain though, being originally from Minnesota. Yeah, just here in Key Largo, trying to stay sane.
All right. Well, we want to hear from you out there in our Want to Talk About Dive Land. Where are you chiming in from? So write a little note. Let us know where you're holed up, shall we say, having to talk about diving as opposed to going diving. And while you're doing it, because we're going to be talking to our instructors and our divers pretty soon here about what their favorite dive sites are, why don't you drop us a line with your favorite dive site and maybe even a specialty that you might want to take while you're on it. Garrett, from where do you hail, young man?
I am originally from Nebraska, actually. So coming down
A lot
here
of
is a
oceans
pretty
there.
big, yes, lots of oceans. It's really cool to be able to come down here and do all the stuff that we're able to do. Because like Ross said, there's not much diving that we're really able to do. Especially if you want to go, you can't really go deep, you can't really go anywhere else like that. So being able to come down here and be a part of everything that Rainbow Reef does, it's really awesome.
Excellent. Now, as you may very well know, Garrett came down to be part of our internship program, which is a very large scuba business related program. We have another program that I believe Jimmy actually came in on. Jimmy, tell us a little bit about yourself. I understand that, by the way, thank you for your service. You are a vet.
Yeah, sorry, what was that?
Are we breaking up?
I think
Okay, you're
Jimmy's back
back.
now.
Yep, a little glitch there. Yeah, so I came down here. I used the GI Bill. I did 4 years in the Marine Corps out in California. I always thought I was going to stay down in California, but I jumped around after the Marine Corps, did commercial diving. I used my GI Bill for that, and then down and used the rest of it. Uh, so it does start at the master level because the VA, so when they start using the course as a professional level. So dive master and instructor. But the nice thing about doing it through Rainbow is the thing that definitely got me down here. Um, this Rainbow was definitely the apartments that you guys also offer while you're doing the courses. Because when you come down, you're not sure if you're going to end up staying in Key Largo or going back somewhere else or looking for employment somewhere else. So, I mean, a lot of the other places I looked, what do? You kind of try to find a place for however long you're doing the courses. So that's kind of what got me down here. But yeah, it was super smooth. Neil kept everything super smooth for me, doing the work and stuff, and worked out great.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, as a matter of fact, what Jimmy was talking about is the fact that with all of our IDC and our professional courses, when you're enrolled, then the housing is actually part of the course itself. Because let's face it, we have to actually dive every day. We're in classes every day, so it just makes sense that if you're going to be displaced from your home, like David was, David, you too utilized the same. Not the VA program, but you did the IDC program with this, correct?
In fact, I did Dive Master and IDC, and I did my Master Scuba Diver Specialty Instructor courses, which is sort of like Master Scuba Diver, except I'm learning to teach them, all here in June and early July. And I did avail myself of the apartments, and it was really an outstanding program, and that's why I'm back here as an employee now.
Well, excellent. So, if any of you out there are wondering what you're going to do next, scuba diving is a wonderful way of staying active in the water, of making passion part of your work, part of your job. So, come on down. You can check us out on rainbowreefidc.com for the instructor portion of it, or just rainbowreef.com to do some of those specialties that we were talking about. We've got some hellos from Wisconsin, some hellos from Texas, some hellos from Dallas. I better be getting a hello from my son out in California because I told you to watch. But we want to hear from you. We want to converse with you, not just share our scuba snacks, but actually talk about some other stuff. So I would actually like to talk about some of the tools that we use in the scuba world. For instance, we've got signal marker buoys, right? SMBs. If you don't like pink, that's fine. We've got yellow. If you don't like yellow, that's fine. We've got orange. But you notice do it this way. What is the one thing that is similar to all of them? They are brightly colored because the whole point is safety and the whole point is risk mitigation. One of the wonderful things that Patty does is make sure that all of the courses are risk mitigated courses so that we can minimize as much risk as we can, as long as we stay within the standards. So on Wednesday, in our next Talk Dive Live, we're going to have our very own Nick Jenny, regional manager for Southern California and the Caribbean islands. He's going to be joining us from Patty Live. So start thinking of your questions now. What would you like to ask Patty? Because I'll bet you he would be able to get some of those questions on to Drew as well, so we could find out some of the really big answers. But let's move right along to something else. Now, David, we were talking earlier about computers and gauges. What kind of dive gauge computer do you dive with, sir?
So I am a big fan of a air integrated computer. Right now I have a very, very old Aris, but I am going to be upgrading to the Cobra as soon as we're allowed to get back into the water. An air integrated computer is very cool because depending on whether it's most useful on a deep dive, but depending on whether your limit right now is no decompression or running out of air, your computer will tell you how soon you need to end the dive on the more conservative side. And you actually will see it switch as you go up because maybe now it's air instead of no deco or no deco instead of air. I have one where the computer is actually attached to my high pressure hose, so I don't even have a separate pressure gauge. I guess the downside is if my computer flakes out, I've lost my depth, my no decompression limit, and my amount of air I have left. But I am pretty confident usually that I have more than a half a tank on most dives, and I'd have to end the dive immediately anyway. So, but I love it for the reason that it gives you both. And even on shallow dives, it's just nice to have everything in one place. I'm just holding my hand up and I can see all the information I need. You can also get a wrist console one, and someone else can talk about that, but I have the connected to the hose version.
Right. So David has an air integrated. Garrett, and while I'm asking this, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, let us know what you dive with, because this is actually a hot topic right now of what different types of computers, air integrated or SPGs, people are using. Garrett, what do you use?
Right now, I am running. I actually have it here with me. It's called the Sunto Eon Core. It is a air integrated computer that you wear on your wrist. Unlike David's, you don't have it with the hose. The transmitter actually connects into your first stage, and then you can run all of your depth and how much air you have left and all your timers and everything via there. So I like running that and having everything just sitting on my wrist rather than having to always look down at the computer that's hooked into with the hose.
All right. Jimmy, what do you use, sir?
I have the same thing. I have the Sunto core as well. The thing I like about it is the air integration, like they already were talking about and hit. So you got everything right there. But the big thing that I like about the Sunto, besides the customizability, if that's a word,
Easy for you to say.
is the compass. I love having the compass in my computer. You can mark bearings and everything like that, and so that way it's just one less piece I have to have. So I got all my air info right in my compass. So
I see. So there are some people that will actually have a console like this, right? That'll have an SPG and then just a basic computer. There are some people that won't even have a computer. So we really want to hear from you, because this is an interesting topic. As David pointed out, if you are diving an air integrated and you don't have a backup SPG and your computer goes, what do you do? If you are diving just a wristwatch and looking at your SPG, and for some reason you've messed up your dive profile, what do you do? Let us know what you're doing. Looks like we have some more hellos. We've got a Steven out there, a John, Ryan. Looks like my very own Miss Kimmy has called in. Thank you very much. Steven is asking, what should beginners get? In other words, what is the first gear that a beginner diver should get? Jimmy, since we ended up with you, why don't we go back to you first? What do you think a new beginning diver should get first?
I think starting out, I would probably first off probably start with a BCD. Just because I think that if you're starting out and you're still getting comfortable with diving, you can use rental gear. I think it's the easiest thing where once you get used to your BC and you're comfortable underwater, I think from there you can start perfecting the other skills and build on that solid foundation. So I would probably say BC and then working from there. I just, like all of my students, I always suggest kind of thinking about where you're going to go with diving. If it's only, once or twice a year, if you'd like it to be, if you live down here and once a week, I just always suggest kind of think out into the future on what you might want to do with diving. Looking gear that you're not going to outgrow right away just because, I'm guilty of it. I think we all are. We all want to cut costs where we can, but at the same time, just picking gear that you're not going to outgrow 1 year into it, 2 years into it, not, when your skills start developing and you start looking into other stuff in the dive world. So BC, I think a computer as well. And then kind of building from there. The signal tube is also a big one. Especially if you're doing, for us on the wreck dives, very important piece of gear as well, because like we always say, safety first. We always have to talk about safety first. So it's a very underutilized gear.
And Jimmy, that's excellent. That's excellent advice. To don't go cheap on what is going to keep you alive underwater, right? Always buy what you can, and buy it wisely. David, what would you say is your most importantest piece of gear for a beginner diver? Oh, and by the way, I'm sorry, it wasn't Stephen, it was Stephanie Latourneau. So excuse me, Stephanie. I hope that we're able to answer your question. But yes, David, what piece of gear would you suggest purchasing first?
Well, I mean, anybody who's starting a course, I assume they already have their mask, fin, and snorkel. But certainly your mask it's so important that it's comfortable and it fits well. If you have your mask, fin, and snorkel already, though, um, I think that I would agree with Jimmy because uh, a regulator, we can talk about sort of the technical differences among the different regulators, but a BC also has to do with comfort, and it's so important to be comfortable in the water. And you have choices, as we've talked about in earlier programs, of do you want a jacket style or back inflate? Do you want a travel size or sort of a more robust one? And there's all kinds of sort of different questions to ask about BCs that relate not only to is it going to do its job? Which, of course, it will. It will keep you on the surface if you need to be floating on the surface. But also, is it going to be really comfortable? And are you going to feel streamlined and comfortable in the water? And that's a personal decision as sort of mass comfort is. So I would say BC is finding the BC that makes you feel good in the water is just such a good thing to do.
Many years ago, I would have said the regulator or the BC was the first best thing to get, until all of this onslaught of different computers came our way. And right now, I think that one of the first things that you should purchase, because it's easy. I mean, some people just have the computers on their wrist, you know, is the dive computer, so that you can actually get used to it and get used to frequently checking in with your dive profile as something that you do. But again, that's my take on it. Now, not to take away from the BC, because of course the BC is all about your buoyancy, whether or not you're going to be using a low pressure inflator hose, whether or not you're going to be using one of those I3s, right? So those are types of things that you can test and play with along the way. The computer, I find, is somebody's personal gear that's going to become more part of them as they work with it. Now, Garrett, what would you say?
Since I'm technically one of the newer divers into the realm of scuba diving, I would probably deal with the computer as well. Um, because I know that when I'm going somewhere, let's say if I don't have my own stuff, I know I can rent my regulator, I know I can rent my BCD. But a computer is something that I want with me, and I want to understand how it works, so that as I continue with it, I can transverse into maybe a more advanced computer than one I currently have.
All right, there you go, from the younger diver's mouth. So let's close out today with one of my most favorite things, because let's face it, folks, we're not able to go diving. So let's talk about our favorite dive site. So hopefully some of you out there have actually written in and let us know what your favorite dive site is. Of course, if you want to upload some photos from your most recent trips out here to Rainbow Reef or on our reefs, please, by all means, do so. We can share them. But let's start with David, who's going to go quickly, since we'd love to get back to Jimmy and Garrett.
So I've had a different answer to this question every time because I love all
Every
dive
time.
sites, but every time. But that's the reality of diving. So I'll just say that one of the most fun mornings I've had recently was diving on the Dwayne and diving on the Bib back to back. Those are about both sort of at equal depths. They're deep dives and they're sister ships. They're exactly the same boat, but one is up like this and one is over like that. And it was really cool to sort of see the same boat in different configurations back to back. So today I'll say the Dwayne and the Bib. Do we may be having, oh, there we go.
There we go. Garrett, you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
What's your favorite dive
I
site?
think I don't have very. I haven't dove much here, but I personally love when we are going to French Reef. I enjoy going through all the swim throughs, and sometimes on French, one of the favorite ones I think is it's Hourglass Cave or a swim through. Sometimes there's a giant Goliath grouper that's sitting in there, and it's really cool to see as you're going through.
And Jimmy, sir, what's your favorite dive site?
I would probably, I mean, the Spiegel's fun. I love going down in the loading bay and coming out through the side of it. That's pretty fun. Otherwise, Snapper's Ledge. I'd probably like to go Snapper's Ledge. Always love sharks. Who doesn't love sharks? So I'd probably have to go Snapper's Ledge this week.
Yeah. Online are saying that some of their favorite dive sites were Belize, Jamaica, Cabo. Then the other ones that got back a little bit more locally were also talking about the Dwayne and the Bib. Um, me, I'm just one of those geeks that likes to go underwater and share water with other people, like strangers in a strange land. So there you have it, folks. Don't forget to sign in again on Wednesday. That's going to be Wednesday at 4:30. Today's broadcast was brought to you by the letter C, spelled however you want. And don't forget, we've got our own Nick Jenny's going to be on the line with us on Wednesday as well. So get together your Patty questions. We're going to ask him. So for now, bye-bye, blow bubbles, and remember, every scuba snack is a good snack.
Have a good one, guys.
Thanks, everybody.